Hey everybody, welcome to the third chair yoga practice in our 5-part series in December. I hope that you enjoyed that little office style chair yoga. I just want you to see that you can do chair yoga anywhere, okay? So it doesn't have to be a big deal. So I want to kind of address the hips today. For this short practice, we're going to utilize a lot of our strength in our legs to really come into a place where we're starting to loosen up those hips. And what happens when we typically um, age, we really start to get some tightness through our low back and into our hips. But if we can keep our hips flexible and keep things moving in our hips, we actually can kind of eliminate as much back pain as maybe we're experiencing without doing some of these hip exercises. So as a person who has struggled with hip pain for a long time, I find that just coming into these simple stretches for the hips actually does help my hip feel better, even though the old hip needs to go and the new one needs to come in. So one thing I want you to think about too is the old theory, you've heard it before, motion is lotion. The more that you move your joints, the more synovial fluid that you're going to create in your own body. As we age, our synovial fluid lessens, which is why when we get up from a chair, we're stiff. The older we get, the stiffer we get because we're not moving as much as we were in our youth, where we were running, running, running. And so our body doesn't produce as much synovial fluid. And that we can recreate by moving our joints. So simply just, backstroke swimming every day helps our shoulder, which is that ball and socket joint that is identical to the hip. Okay, so we have a tendency to move our arms far more than we move our legs, especially if we have a sedentary lifestyle or a sedentary job, or we drive a lot. So we're going to focus on the hips today. We're going to get a little bit into our body, just totality of our gorgeous, beautiful bodies. But we really want to focus on the hips today. I'm going to adjust my camera just a tiny bit, scoot my chair back so that you can see where I'm going with my legs. You will need to be sitting in a comfortable seat. I'm just on a metal folding chair. Okay, I'm on my metal folding chair. This chair gets a lot of different uses. I'm out here in my studio. Obviously, I got my treadmill, my little pedaling bike thing there. I sit on my folding chair and pedal my little bicycle to heart's content. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start with my legs wide. I'm going to just adjust this just a tiny bit more. Okay, I'm going to scoot me on back so you can still see my pretty little face. Okay, ish. No, so funny. People tell me all the time, like, if you edited your videos, I'm not editing anything. This is me. This is real. This is life. And life is perfect. Take your legs wide like you're sitting on a thoroughbred horse, big fat horse. Drop your elbows onto your thighs and then take your elbows and push your legs open. Okay. So not only are you getting a beautiful stretch for your low back, you're also starting to invite that length through the inner thighs. Bring them in, push them out. Bring them in and push them out. This is a beautiful way just to bring a little bit of awareness to the hips and the low back before we get going. 3 more, just opening and pushing. Feel that? I think it's delicious. Now, open as wide as you can. Take your right arm to the sky. Take a huge, beautiful breath in. Now take your heart and spin it up towards the sky and look up. Beautiful. Lower your right arm, rest it on your right leg. Left arm this time, reach it up, look at it. And then return it. Slide your hands all the way down to your ankles. Now, if that is not available to you, come back to the elbows on the thighs. If you can reach those ankles, try to get there. Feels so good. Now, my elbows are going to push to the inside of my knees. My spine is super flat here. Okay, so I'm not rounding at all. I've got a nice flat spine. Take a big breath in. Push against your knees and exhale. Slowly begin to rise. So we're going to close up the legs just for a moment. Take your hands around your left knee, interlace your fingers like a basket, and bring it on in. So we did this a little bit. I believe segment 1 of this series, we had a little bit of that opposing. So we're going to take our leg and we're going to draw some circles. Okay, so if you have a little clicking and popping, just make slightly smaller circles. Doesn't necessarily mean anything's wrong with your hip if you have clicking and popping. It's just your body speaking its little language. Now reverse your circles, up and over. Okay, so this direction, I start to feel a little bit of discomfort in my hip, but this is my not so happy hip. So I'm just gonna roll with it. I know that a little bit of discomfort is not gonna cause any harm. It's just something that my body is not too happy about, but I'm not hurting it. 3 more. Synovial fluid. Okay, every time we move that joint, we're creating that fluid. Now bring your knee into your chest, squeeze it. You should feel stretch through the hamstring into the glute. Lower it. Inhale to squeeze. This is also amazing for our internal organs because we're pressing thigh into belly. We got 2 more. Squeeze it on in. Last one, squeeze it on in. Now take your hands underneath your knee. I just like to hook my elbows. Okay, I'm just hanging out. Straighten your leg and bend it. I'm super tight. Okay, you can also just keep them interlaced like this. I'm not leaning back on my chair. I've got a straight spine. Okay, so straighten and bend. 3 more. 2 more. This is amazing for the knees. Last one, take the leg up, pick it up, and cross it. Okay, getting a nice stretch for the IT band. I'm going to take my right hand and I'm actually going to pull my legs over as my left shoulder reaches to the back. I'm going to turn my heart to the left. We're just coming to a nice twist. Now, if this shape of your legs is not available, come to crossed ankles. We still have the crisscross. We still have a little bit of that IT band stretch. So work towards sitting with a crossed leg. Take your right arm now and cross it. And we're going to take that journey to spin on over to the left. And then come back around. We're going to take that to the other side. So uncross, grab your right knee, interlace your fingers, squeeze super tight. And then we're going to start to make those circles. Okay, and just to be the observer, you don't have to criticize or wonder why one side feels tremendously different. It just is. We all have a tendency to compensate, go the other direction. This side, for me, is a little bit more free to move. The hip's a little bit healthier, but I'm also a lot tighter because I compensate. All it is awareness. 3 more. 2 more. Last one, squeeze it in tight, get that beautiful benefit, lower it, squeeze it on in. 2 more. Pull in. Fantastic. Last one. Now we're going to take that leg, sweep it on across, pull, and get that nice stretch of the IT band. Take your right shoulder back. Now slip your left hand over your right leg and spin your heart to the right. Beautiful twist. Twists are so good for us. Come back around. We're going to grab that leg and get that hamstring lengthening. Okay, so straighten it and bend it. Straighten it and bend it. 3 more. 2 more. Last one. Come on back and lower it. Take your feet wide once again. Rest your elbows on your legs. One theory in the yoga world, particularly for females, is that we tend to kind of dump our emotions deep into our pelvis and into our hips. And that's why a lot of women have SI joint issues. We have a lot of sciatic pain. There is a correlation to emotions that don't get resolved, that stay in the tissue. If you've heard the term, the issues are in your tissues. So when we come into a deep hip stretch, it's a beautiful opportunity to ask yourself first as you enter in, is there something that I'm hanging on to that's not serving me? Is there something I need to let go of? When we practice a yin style yoga practice, which is typically on the ground, can be done in a chair, but typically on the ground, We hold the poses for a long time. We have introspection, and it's a beautiful way of letting go. So we're going to come into a yin style of pigeon pose in the chair. There'll be a little bit of space for silence. So as we get into this pose, push those knees away. Feels so good. I want you to think, is there something like an expectation, perhaps, hurt feelings, overwhelm, common this time of year? Is there something, bitterness, that I'm holding on to that is no longer serving me? Maybe it served you at the time. Maybe you needed to feel that emotion. Maybe you needed it for a purpose, but you don't need it anymore. All right, here we go. We're going to come on up. We're going to start by straightening our left leg long first. Okay, so we're going to put our hands right there at our pelvis. Find that little hip crease. Push your index finger into the hip crease and start to tilt forward. As you tilt forward, you feel a huge stretch in the left leg that's straight. Okay, your toes are up towards the ceiling. This is just preparing those hamstrings for what is about to come. Inhale to rise. We're going to do one more. Put those index fingers into the hip crease. Take a big breath. And exhale, fold forward. Take a breath in and rise. Now we're going to take the left leg, bring it up, grab the ankle and cross it. Now, this is a big pose for a lot of people. You can see my knee is quite up there because my hip just doesn't want to move in that direction. Now, if this is impossible for you, you're going to come back to the short skirt. If this is impossible for you, you're going to come to the crossed long skirt, crossing at the ankles. You're not going to get as much of a deep stretch into the glute muscle and into the hip, but you're still going to feel something good. So option number one is full on pigeon. Spine is straight. We're going to eventually fold, but this is the leg setup for pigeon in a chair. That's not available. Put on your short skirt. If that's not available, put on your long skirt. Okay. So I'm going to start here. Now, wherever you're at with your legs, we're going to begin to cross and just move side to side. As you do that, you begin to feel some sensation. So my toes are flexed back towards my knee. That protects my knee. Okay. So if I'm here, I'm doing the same thing, getting that stretch through the outer part of the legs, depending on which direction I'm moving. Same thing if you're in the long skirt. Okay. Now we're going to find stillness. Hands are going to rest on the top leg, wherever you're at. Okay. Toes are flexed. Spine is straight. Heart is lifted. Push your shoulders back. Lead with your beautiful heart. Take a breath in. On your exhale, that hip crease we were just playing with, hinge forward. Now, I like to cradle my left arm with my left elbow. That feels like it's giving my hip some support. You can be here without the cradling, or you can take the cradle. I think it feels comfortable. My heart's still going forward. We're going to be here for a bit. Make sure those toes are pushing back towards the knee. Now, this is a variation of a very common pose in a yoga practice called pigeon. It's an opening for the sacrum in the back, an opening for the externally rotated hip, and it can feel really beautiful in the glutes. Okay, so now we're going to take our nose and our forehead and go all the way down, as far down as we can. If you like to have a landing spot for your forehead, you can stack two fists right there and just rest your head on your fist. I think it feels nice. It's very quieting for the mind to have a little bit of pressure. And if you know when you're out and about in the world and you experience something stressful, we almost all of us intuitively get bad news or we're stressed, we press there. And what we're doing is we're intuitively trying to quiet down the racing thoughts. So coming into stacked fists and resting your head on that place and closing your eyes will bring amazing sense of quiet to the mind. We're going to be here for 5 to 6 breath cycles. If you are in the short skirt, You are just simply folded over as far as you can go, maybe using a block or stacked fist to give your forehead a place to land. And same with the long skirt. Take a breath. Empty the breath. Take a breath. Empty the breath. 3 more on your own. To come out of pigeon pose, allow the forehead to come off of the stacked fists and slowly, very slowly rise up and recreate a straight spine. Keep your legs just like they are, either the open, the short skirt, or the long skirt, and we're going to take a twist. So if you're here, we're just simply taking the arm to the outside or placing the hand on the knee and twisting towards the bent leg, okay? Come back around to front and we're gonna loosen out that hip. So take your leg, open it like a gate and close it. So coming into pigeon is a big pose. We wanna make sure that we give our body a little bit of that synovial fluid before we go to the next side. All right, bend the left knee, foot on the floor, right leg shoots straight out, toes are straight up. Find that hip crease with the index fingers. My thumbs are back there on my sacrum. I'm actually tilting my pelvis with my hands and coming on down. Toes up towards the sky. So tight. Inhale to rise. One more time, but we're going to stay a bit. Exhale all the way down. Feel that? Begin to rise. We're going to take pigeon with the right leg. Squeeze it in first. Get a little bit of juiciness. Now cross left over right. Now, you might notice if you paid attention, my left knee was like a diagonal because my hip's kind of cranky. Here, I have a little bit more openness. Doesn't mean it's better or worse. It's just a little bit more open. Now, you might find your right leg can't be here. It's too discomfortable. It's just uncomfortable. There's too much discomfort. So slide it to the short skirt. Nothing wrong with it. Okay. We're still getting an openness through our sacrum and a stretch through our glutes. Maybe the long skirt. If you're here in pigeon, toes go towards the knee, hands go onto the leg. Take a breath in, elevate the heart wherever you're at, push it on forward and exhale. Cradle that arm around the knee if it feels good. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. It's totally your preference. Stack those hands. Find your comfort here. Take a breath in. Drop your forehead onto those stacked hands or the block, or just let your head hang. And just imagine for a second that feeling of something rolling off your back as you round over and the shoulders fall forward and down, just rolling it off your back. We talked in the very first part of this series about just rolling with it, just being in the flow, just allowing these emotions that come, and like fireworks sometimes, right? We have all of the twinkles and frosting and sprinkles and joys and parties, which can often be incredibly joyful, but also very, very stressful. And all of these experiences and feelings are real and valid. Sometimes we desperately need to just hit the pause button and find that peaceful stillness. You have 3 breaths on your own. Just allowing things to roll off your back. Start that beginning to unwind from the pose, allowing the head to come up last. We'll take a twist before we move the legs. So take your opposite arm to the outside of the leg and begin to spin the heart and the belly towards the bent leg or the top leg. And then come on back around. One more final open leg stretch. Hands are going to go on the inside of it, just above the knee. Fingers to the inside, thumbs to the outside. Elbows are going to bend like a cactus. We're going to push the heart forward. Oh, do you feel that in the low back? Take a big breath in. Drop your left shoulder. Look to the right. Come back to center. Drop the right shoulder. Look left. One more time each side. Just feel that. Feel the openness through the hips, openness through the low back. One more time. Return. Let your hands slide to your ankles. Ooh. Drop your chin. Close your eyes. Remembering that sometimes when life becomes very, very heavy, we tend to accumulate a lot of layers of emotion and stress in the body. And by rounding our spine and coming into a fold and focusing on the hips and creating some motion and fluidity in the hip and pelvis and low back, we can invite in the sensation that we are allowing things to just roll off our back. We are letting go of that which does not serve us anymore. We're taking the burdens off our back and out of our hips, the disappointments, the expectations, the overwhelm. We're coming back into a place of gratitude and fullness for the good. Sometimes during this time of year, we forget that there is so much good and a fullness that is joyful. Start to roll on up. Bring your hands together at your heart. Close up those legs. Sweep your arms to the sky. Take a huge breath in. On your exhale, swan dive over those legs. Come into a fold. And roll the spine up. Place a hand on your heart. Hand on your heart. Take a big breath in. A long breath out. And there we have it. A beautiful practice designed to get those hips going and kind of release some of the stuff that we accumulate throughout our challenges. All right, have a beautiful day. We got 2 more to go in this chair series, and I look forward to seeing you next time, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.